It's news from heaven. Can spirits see through our eyes? We're wondering, is Alexa really recording your conversations and sending them to people? How safe is your visual feed? Can the spiritual world come through there in a positive and negative sense? Well, Swedenborg has got some firsthand accounts of what's going on there. Like and subscribe, and as soon as you all do, then we can go on to it. Okay, I'm going to trust that you did it. Leave comments. I want to hear how this stuff strikes you as we really go on this journey through the limits of reality. This is In Secrets of Heaven. You can download that book. It's free. Right in the description. Follow along and scroll all the way down to the very, very end, to 1880, where we pick up this fascinating account. And the answer is, can spirits see through our eyes? It's complicated. That's the answer. Okay, I gave it all away. Furthermore, to speak generally of spirits and angels, who are all human souls living on after the death of the body. These are just people in different states. They have much sharper senses than people do. I don't know if you ever think about that, but sight, hearing, smell, and touch, all sharper, nothing there to report, but not taste. Right away, we're getting something. We should just skip this first paragraph because that's going to distract people from the main message. Why not taste? Not that they don't have taste, although I don't want to go into it. He talks about them having something analogous to taste, but just that it's not sharper, because that would limit the pleasures of the other senses. However, just last night I was eating a pretzel with chocolate and M&Ms on it, and I remember thinking to myself, these are the different colored M&Ms. What heaven would be to be able to eat as many of these as I could with no consequence. So how does that all fit in? I don't know, but this is something I want you to wipe from your mind as we get into can spirits see through our eyes. He's talking about the senses because this is a big thing to him. There's a lot of people who thought in the afterlife you're like barely conscious or you're wispy, and he's saying, no, we're there and we can perceive the spiritual world more acutely than we used to be able to perceive the physical world. However, now that he's asserted that spirits can see and all that sort of stuff, it is impossible for spirits, much less angels, to see anything in this world by the power of sight, or in other words, by the eyes of their spirit. And interesting that angels even less, because if you've got whatever's going on in the world here, this is the physical world, planet Earth as a representative of the physical dimension of reality. What continent is that? I don't know. You have spirits right here who seem to be closer, but as you ascend, go deeper or higher, whatever it is, you have even less of a chance, of perceiving what's on the lower, denser levels. To them, the light of the world or of the sun is like thick darkness. By the same token, it's impossible for us to see anything in the other world by our power of sight, or in other words, with the eyes of our body. To us, the light of heaven, or of heaven's Lord, the same thing, the truth radiating out from God, is like thick darkness. And that's just saying that it doesn't matter if it's light or dark or you're in a cave, where you are, you can't squint your eyes hard enough to see something spiritual. Now, people have these spiritual experiences where they do. Swedenborg would assert this is when the eyes of your spirit open. Your physical eyes are never doing that. However, when it pleases the Lord, spirits and angels can see objects in the world through the eyes of a person on earth. We got our answer right there. The answer is yes. I thought you said the answer was it's complicated. Okay, well, let's see what he says next. So our spirits are looking through our eyes right now. Are they watching news from heaven through your eyes and saying, man, that world is weird. I'm glad that I left it. This is an experience the Lord does not grant. Except to a person whom he allows to speak with spirits and angels and to associate with them. Okay, so we go from, it always happens, to not only in special cases, somebody who he already is allowing to speak with spirits and angels and to associate with them. Which person are we talking about here? Through my eyes. So this is in Swedenborg's case. This is an irregular case, but it happened. Through my eyes, they were allowed to see objects in the world and to see them as clearly as I did. So you have somehow spirits hooked up into Swedenborg's visual stream. And it goes on from there. It's not just sight. They were also allowed to hear people talking with me. more than once, and of course, this would lead to the next point. More than once, a few of them saw friends they had during bodily life. Like, oh, look, there's Jerry. Swedenborg knows Jerry. I didn't know that. Looking through my eyes, they saw these people just as close at hand as before, and it stupefied them. Why would that stupefy them? It's because this is an irregular phenomenon. This is not how the world works. Those spirits had been spirits in the spiritual world, but usually they couldn't see through. But here, they get this special access through the eyes of a Swedenborg. Oh, this is not going well. That was going to be an eyeball. Forget I ever drew it. You know what an eyeball looks like. Just look in the mirror. They also, so they've got these friends, and they're like, I can't believe this is happening. But even more potent than the friend visual reunion, they also saw their spouses and little children, which is sad to think about, that somebody's died and they have kids, left behind, and a spouse, and wanted me to tell their loved ones they were present. We're here. It's all right, we're here. And could see them. And to relay how matters stood for them in the other world. And doesn't this just speak to the human experience? That of course, the things you'd want to say are, hey, I'm here, it's okay. But also, this is what it's like for me. We get people watching this show who, one of the things that is useful for them when they've lost somebody that they love is Swedenborg painting this picture of not just that consciousness survives, that we go on as spirits, but what it's like when somebody is far away in the world or doing something that you haven't experienced. You want to know, you want to get pictures, you want to video chat with them because you want to get a sense of what their experience is like. And when you can picture what their life is like, that puts you at ease. So here, naturally, these spirits are saying, oh, hey, tell these people I'm okay and this is what it's like, which also answers the question we sometimes get is, do they just forget us? When they move on, if we sit here and we grieve and we're shaken to our core and they're just off having fun. No, that as soon as they had this access, they wanted to say exactly what we'd want to ask them if they could. But look at this. This is a very strange part here, or we take a turn here. But I was forbidden to talk to these people and reveal that they were being watched in this way. So who's doing the forbidding? Is this angels? Are they saying like this is out of order or this won't work with providence or something? Is Swedenborg had some kind of connection to the Lord? I don't know if he would get messages that clear. Is this the Lord saying, look, this is not what I'm doing for you here? Is this Swedenborg kind of setting boundaries for himself? Look at this next sentence. Besides, so this is not the only reason, but besides, they would have called me crazy or believed me to be hallucinating, because I knew that although they would pay lip service to the idea that spirits exist and the dead have risen again, they would not believe it in their hearts. So this is one other reason is Swedenborg saying these spirits are telling him, look, I'm real. There's the people who are right here. Everyone's still going. Let's talk about it. And Swedenborg knows just to have some strange guy come up to you and say, okay, your wife is telling me that she's okay and this is where she is, that people not only would think this guy's crazy, but also that there was, in Swedenborg's day, there was this whole Christian church going on, and they were talking about how heaven is really happening and all that, but a lot of it was just lip service, that there wasn't this actual idea that we're really going to live after death. And I think we go through that state all the time, because even though I remain fairly confident that consciousness survives, obviously Swedenborg is all about it, but the number of people who I trust who have reported having their own experiences, the things you can go and research and read about, make me feel generally like I think there's something after death. But all of the implications of that, if I really think Swedenborg's visited it there, and these are the principles that he brings back, this is what's important, this is what we can do in this life that matters on the other side versus what doesn't matter, what we should be prioritizing our life on. Sometimes I'm taking that seriously. And other times, I'm just kind of giving it lip service. Like, oh yeah, I should, right, you've got this finite amount of time to really lay your foundation for eternity. Okay. Sometimes it feels like, let's get on it. The only thing I want to do is invest in what's eternal, and I'm going to get this work done that's so important while we're here on earth to improve myself and not do things that are harmful and let God do what God is trying to do in my life. Other times it's like, oh yeah, that's probably coming, but I'm distracted. And I sort of believe it, but I'm not acting like I believe it. Don't we vacillate in the same way? Pay lip service to the idea that spirits exist and the dead have risen again. They would not believe it in their hearts. And I do think, though, that this is changing. Back in the 1700s, I think people didn't have quite the belief that we do today because of, among other things, the whole NDE phenomenon, spiritual experiences, being able to talk about them, which happen all the time for so many people in so many ways. It's becoming a little less of a death sentence for your reputation to talk about things that have happened to you. Still, though, fascinating that there was kind of this barrier there. Now, this wasn't complete because there are instances where Swedenborg very much does tell people about experiences that their relatives were having, but I guess there were other times because of the volume of experience he had when it wasn't the right situation. However, this next paragraph goes on to say that just because Swedenborg is doing it, not that he would be the only one, but it doesn't mean that this is the universal state. And you're going to see this really in the reaction of the spirits who got to see through his eyes. When my inner sight first opened, so he was in his mid-50s, so he wasn't always like this. But then when this connection happened, and they saw the world and all that is in it through my eyes, spirits and angels, both of them, were so dumbfounded that they called it the miracle of miracles. So we're sitting here on this YouTube channel saying, oh, this is so cool. Swedenborg had this amazing access to the other half of life. This is something that even though it happened a couple hundred years ago, it's rare enough to be cataloged this well that we need to devote all this YouTube time to it. You could say, well, it's nothing. What happened with Swedenborg was nothing to the spirits. They always had this kind of access. But here it's saying that the condition that he was in, the spirits and angels around him were, this is cool. I can see the world, the physical world. I haven't seen that in a long time. They were moved by a new kind of joy. And this is amazing. We're just starting to get into this description, which is really the most potent part. But it'll be in this paragraph. Don't fall asleep till we get there, but this is a little teaser of it. They were moved at a new kind of joy at the thought that earth would have this kind of contact with heaven, and heaven with earth, that it just almost represented a bridge that was being built that had been broken between heaven and earth, that this kind of direct, mediated, but immediate, if you can really say that, contact, this real-time contact could be happening, exchange of visual information, they're hyped about that. That's not business as usual. This pleasure, and look at this too, though. This pleasure lasted several months, but now that the experience has grown familiar, they no longer marvel at all. So even the spirits and angels with Swedenborg get used to it. You get used to anything. Nothing other than the joy of use is going to be forever amazing. I was taught that the spirits and angels present with other people do not see anything. And look, here we seem to be saying that you don't got to worry that spirits are always looking through your eyes. I was taught that the spirits and angels present with other people do not see anything in the world at all. So, we don't have that. But yet, there's a connection. But only pick up on the thoughts and feelings of those they are with. So if we haven't visited our head cloud person at all. So when we're going through our day and you have angels with you, normally, there's at least 2 angels with every person. Normally, they cannot hook into your optical nerve and see, the objects that you see out here. However, they can be, and let me make sure I got the wording right, pick up on the thoughts and feelings of those they're with. So I don't know whether that's they see some kind of visual representation of them here in front of them, I don't know if it's more like a sensation they have, but somehow what's going on inside you, the kinds of things, and I don't know if they just see a corresponding representation, or whether it's the exact same thoughts and feelings. How close is that? But whatever's going on in your mind and whatever's going on in your heart, that's your heart. The heart's not in the diagram, okay? That stuff somehow is present to them. Somehow they can sense what you're going through. And through that, do all the amazing things angels do for us. Moderate those states, turn it towards what is good. So there's always a communication. It's just not usually that direct. These experiences, and this is the coolest part. No offense to the other parts. I know I'm going to get letters from fans of the other parts, but seriously, this is the potential of this life that we're living. These experiences establish the idea that we were created to live in heaven among the angels at the same time as we are living on the earth among people, and vice versa. So our diagram has become obsolete because it's too high here. Let me just redraw it. You know, it was such an important thing to the human race. So you've got some kind of channel here. You've got us on earth. You've got heaven here. Right now, there's this sort of vacuum in between. But it was meant to be that there is just constant interaction between the two, that the two really form one system. If that happened, heaven and earth, like I just preempted, would come together and form a single whole. Instead of something that's so separate that we on earth don't even necessarily believe there is such a thing as heaven, and that the people in heaven can't reach us even when they need to, it would be the same thing. It would be the same thing. We would know, listen to this, we would know what was going on in heaven. And angels would know what was going on in the world. Can you imagine? Not just we learn that there's a lot of love in heaven. People have these great experiences and they learn that there's love for us, that we're being taken care of, the general principles. But to be able to say, oh, they're building a new stadium in this part of heaven. It's going pretty well. Oh, it's some holiday. Actually know what's happening there. And heaven can look down and say like, oh, you're dumping your trash in the ocean? Well, maybe you should. Wouldn't that be cool? And that we could talk, and what would that mean for death? And the sting of death would be gone, because when we died, we would then be crossing over from the Lord's kingdom on earth to the Lord's kingdom in the heavens. You wouldn't have to change your money at the border. You know, this would be like a one experience to the next, and it wouldn't have that fear, wouldn't have that separation. Somebody dies, it's like they're in college. You can still talk with them, they can't come over every day, but it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the grief that we have here, and the loneliness and the unsuretism. It would not be as though we were passing into a different kingdom, but into the same one we inhabited while we were living in our body. Instead, we have become so body-oriented that we have shut heaven off from ourselves. Yeah, why isn't this working? No offense to us. It has to do with the kind of things that we're thinking and feeling. So you remember before, the stuff that's presenting, the human race as a whole, I'm not saying it's you in particular, we don't know each other's states, but over the course of many successive generations, the stuff we think has been so materialistically, selfishly polluted that it's hard, the angels can barely interface with the kinds of things that we love and that we think about. As that opens up, as we change, as we get better spiritually, and spiritually is not some kind of alien woo-woo thing. Spiritually is acting from the right motivations based on what you believe to be true. As we do that, as we shun the main falsity, which is that what we are is more important than what the next person is, and resist any kind of cravings to dysfunctional activities that cause harm because we enjoy them at the same time, so we do them anyway. Just that stuff, that is opening up these pathways. So as you do that, you're beginning to have it so that these things can become one. And this block that we've kind of put up here can be erased in 2 fell swoops. So that would be awesome, thinking about the potential to have a living system. And wouldn't that be a burst of insight and technology. Can you imagine if heaven could get in there and tell us, help us solving our problems, give us ideas and innovation, the cultural sharing? This would be like discovering aliens on another planet, but more so. This is a whole new opening up of who we can interact with and where that could take the human race. And it's meant to be like that. It's meant to be like that. That's how we were created. This stuff that seems so weird to Swedenborg, that he could be a conduit, so weird to the spirits around him, they can see through his eyes. That could get to where we all are normally, that we can say, okay, can you Skype me in so I can talk to my friends who are missing me, and it could be right there. That's the world we're headed towards. All it's going to take is shedding this negativity that we're pulled into. And hopefully the promise of stuff like this gives us the extra motivation to do it. And that's the news from heaven. Did it clear anything up for you? So the answer is yes, sort of, not usually. Sometimes it's happened in rare cases, but normally it's just the thoughts and feelings and so on and so on. But the people that we love are on the other side, and they still love us. And either they get through to us now, or we'll see them when we get there. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the show at all. Leave comments. I want to know, does this idea, are they helpful? Is that cool? Does that do anything for you? And can this motivate us to, again, do the spiritual stuff, which is just the stuff of being good, living well by what we believe is true. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk through this with you, and I will see you next time.